Welcome again to a Full Force Movie News Burst special brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod, aka Overwhelmed 80, and Justin Overwhelmed Joes Bell. Yep, there's also an international trailer, and it's bonkers, and we are breaking it down frame by frame again. Not an explosion, because we go straight into this little two panel chat that we're going to have now, Justin. Mate, I
think I've talked to you more than my wife the past 12 hours or so.
I thought you were going to say 12 years for a second.
That probably too.
Right, let's kind of have a quick preface here that we should have just uploaded the actual trailer breakdown, the full trailer breakdown that we were expecting.
Yep.
I'm still actually, as we speak, I'm actually still editing that. But all of a sudden, like, it just blew up today. So we had a featurette drop first, which we'll talk about at the end.
Yep.
We had like a little Larry Hammer kind of thing as well going on there, which is quite nice. And then, out of nowhere, I see this random tweet from Justin GeneralsJoes Bell saying there's an international trailer. And my goodness, it's a different film. It's a different trailer. And
it's almost entirely different.
It's just
beginning to end.
It's got so much cool little connective tissue elements in it that make everything else in the original the full trailer make sense. So Justin, let's get stuck in, shall we? Because this is bonkers, and we've had zero time to prepare this one. So
we're gonna miss stuff, I'm sure.
Of course,
we're kind of trying to chew through this. I am hoping to, at some point today, take both the full trailer and the international trailer and
the featurette,
export a bunch of screenshots
and the character posters. That.
And I'll be filling up my hard drive with screen caps and stuff like that, and then posting some of those up on General's Joes, I'm hoping. So whatever we miss talking about here, maybe you'll get a little bit more perspective there. But yeah, that was just, especially this international trailer, it was like this flood of action left and right, and it was tough to keep track of it. But I think
we're going to try.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's get stuck in. Swing. Right, so we start off then, and it's straight into the car chase. The motorcycle and car chase scene. Now, what's brilliant about this whole thing here is it kind of gives us more information as to how we get from motorcycles to cars, which is just phenomenal to me. Yeah. What we're going to see now, and this is kind of I feel like it was obvious and we should have seen it, but we get like the motorcycles and the cars. We get Snake Eyes jumping off his motorcycle, which gets trounced, and he jumps on a roof of this car that's chasing him, and he stabs his sword through the middle, and obviously he's taking some chumps out. He then jumps off that like SUV onto Ultra Magnus, which we've discussed in the past. Now, it's funny I should say this, because Ultra Magnus is far more important than we gave him credit for in this scene, isn't he, Justin?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was... yeah, he jumps. It's the same. I'm assuming it's the same car carrier that Akiko kind of flips around onto as well. But
Ultra Magnus,
yes. But I mean, the interesting thing is kind of that the very first scene that you really ever saw in any of these trailers was Snake Eyes driving a black car, swirling around firing a Uzi. Well, he gets that black car on top of this car carrier,
exactly,
which is kind of crazy. And interestingly, one of the snippets you kind of saw in one of the earlier trailers was somebody firing a machine gun at the car carrier. And initially I thought that was kind of Snake Eyes firing upon these guys, but it turns out Snake Eyes is on the car carrier taking cover from whoever is firing the machine gun at him. So,
and he's there with Storm Shadow. So Storm Shadow got up there as well somehow. So he's obviously either got on that car carrier much, much earlier, or he'd been in a situation where he had to escape one of the vehicles. Maybe, I don't know, like I'm not sure how that's going to kind of pan out.
Right.
But I imagine somehow they're both on that car carrier.
Well, they're both not necessarily in full uniform. I can't really tell Snake Eyes. I don't think he's wearing his official Snake Eyes mask. I think he's got a motorcycle helmet on or something, but it might be the official mask. But Storm Shadow is clearly in full uniform. So I'm wondering if this happens kind of near the end, if this is kind of like the final battle scene.
I can confirm he's wearing his Snake Eyes costume. I've just freeze framed it, when he's like sitting next to Storm Shadow. They're in full ghetto.
Okay.
Ghetto. So this is probably not one of the... it's going to be interesting to work out what's what here, because this must be later on in the film.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like one of the final chase scenes or whatever. I'm thinking that's what it probably is.
But what I really like about this, even though like we're seeing like it's new footage and obviously that's always exciting, but it really does look great. It looks really
Yeah.
good. Like so that's something that I've been really excited about. We obviously
Yeah.
see shoot the car that flips over. Then we get the usual all of the companies involved. We get the Arashikage temple with it walking in, but then we get this cool. This is a really cool scene in the forest where he's discussing the Arashikage with Snake Eyes, and up this pathway you've got this what looks like one archer firing arrows at these ninjas, and
Yep.
they're just diving out of the way of them. And it's just so cool. I don't know the details, but this is probably some
Right.
sort of training sequence, isn't it?
I would imagine, yeah. And I just had my mouth open because I was, with these international trailers, typically you expect there might be a little bit of new footage here and there,
Like
but
one
like this
scene.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was just sitting there watching, like, wait, this is like all new. I have not seen any of this before. So yeah, I mean that was pretty fascinating. Yeah, just the arrows flying, and then of course, right after that,
Oh,
there's this scene in the rainy alleyway, and somebody's like jumping up and kind of straddling the buildings with the swords in hand.
there's a
And
really cool weapon that's on show here as well, isn't there? Like
yeah,
almost like a Darth Maul type. It's like a little blade, like a red blade shoots out of the end of like
yeah,
a long pole, and it
exactly.
kind of does look like Storm Shadow, but it could be anyone really at that point, couldn't
Yeah,
it? And
it
I love
could.
that
Yeah,
pose is wicked. Like jumps up and like legs aside, like pinning against the walls, just like
yeah.
I'm gonna kill you. Yeah, it's
Oh
brilliant.
yeah, fantastic.
Brilliant scene. And then this is another thing. It expands even more the Scarlet scene in the
Yeah,
hotel. And what I love about this is you see that there's that one bit in the Scarlet clip in the previous one where I couldn't tell if it was Scarlet or someone else had pulled out a couple of like kind of weapons, like kind of like
right.
sticks, kind of bladed sticks. It's
Yeah.
actually from her suitcase, her luggage.
Yeah, it's the handle of her suitcase seems to have concealed weapons in it or something, and she yanks them out and then kicks them.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you now, I want that classified figure. I want
Oh,
Scarlet
no kidding. In her
with the
civilian
in the
garb or whatever.
civilian gear with that luggage.
That'd be
I mean,
awesome.
come on, that would be an absolute home effing run, wouldn't it?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, then we see her kick some A, but then we also see her kind of like I would say like in an official capacity, like almost like a turning up to like a crime scene kind of situation. And this is
Yeah.
probably at the port where the whole gang thing kicks off and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow kill a bunch of dudes.
Right.
And that's probably why Scarlet is on the hunt in this case, making it in an official capacity, would you say?
Yeah, and you can really tell a little, at least it seems that way to me, seems evident that she's already a member of G.I. Joe and she is investigating, she's in Japan kind of investigating what's going on there. I mean, the fact that she's got the luggage, obviously she traveled there from somewhere. And then, like you said, she looks a little bit more professional in a particular scene, like she might be investigating, what happened at the port, like you said. And
So
that kind of leads into the,
yeah.
how she integrates with the Arashikage.
Yeah, because Storm Shadow actually says, doesn't he, that the Joes are part, like they're in league with the Joes. Effectively,
Right.
he mentions Joes by name, and he says,
Yeah.
and that's where he's talking to Snake Eyes, and he says, I need warriors like you,
Right.
and we're getting more. We get the kind of Fight Club scene, which we can't talk about. Lols. We get we get that bit of Kenta leading. Oh, this is amazing. So Kenta's leading his like. I think they were called the Kuriyami in the previous
Okay.
what do you call it, leaked script details. I'm not sure if that's still the case. We haven't heard that repeated again since, and even in the plot leaked video that kind of was doing the rounds,
Right.
there was no mention of the Kuriyami, as it were. But he's leading this, these bad guys into the Arashikage temple with that, as we already know from the synopsis on, the official synopsis, this artifact,
Right.
this mystical artifact, which you see him turn people to flaming dust, don't you?
Incinerates them. Yeah, you can see him like hold it out, and these two guys just go burst into flames.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Wow.
yeah,
I'm kind of, because obviously when I first heard about that, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, but
yeah.
seeing it, I was kind of like, oh, that looks dope. So I'm kind of still, I'll have to weigh that up when we actually see the movie. But from what I've seen, crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah, and obviously that also lends more to that, the scene where you see him kind of holding that same thing up, and the temple explodes a little bit. I mean, that's been in a couple of the trailers now. So clearly that's the same sort of artifact that he used to kind of set those two people on fire.
Interesting that, because we mentioned that manga that came out a while back, the Arashikage Showdown, which had a similar thing where the Arashikage were protecting an artifact that, you know, had mystical powers. It's interesting that they kind of went down that route, but here we are.
Yeah.
I see it as an homage, personally, but that's just me.
It definitely could be, yeah. I mean, and I think there's always, they're trying to find that bridge between, you know, modern, you know, state-of-the-art military, the ninja side of things. Like, how do we make this different than just a typical, you know, soldiers versus terrorists kind of thing? And they're adding a little bit of that mysticism and a little bit of that kind of supernatural sort of stuff, which, you know, fans of the comic might kind of complain about, but it's not like it's anything new to G.I. Joe. It's always been sort of woven in there. And even the comic had, you know, the Morning Light sword, which was supposed to be this, you know, the most powerful sword, sharpest sword in the world, that type of thing. So it's not like this is completely pulled out of Paramount. I mean, there's some sort of stuff being, you know, that have driven this part of the story.
Absolutely. Right, okay, sorry, you shook me by saying the word. Yeah, we never swear on this show. Lols.
I'm sorry. My bad.
That's a lie. Then obviously we get the Cobra logo, holographic logo. Haruka Abe explaining who Cobra are. Baroness coming in with all the troops, etc., etc. We have seen a lot of this before, but this is like almost seconds prior to the scenes we've seen, or seconds after the scene we've already seen. So it's new footage. But we've seen the scene, shall we say?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that, and then we get this massive battle as well on the bridge. Speaking of bridges, nice segue, Justin. Earlier, you had this massive kind of like fight between the two rival clans, you know, Cobra and Arashikage. Then we see Haruka Abe in a different costume here, which kind of looks like she's just finished running a marathon, and they've wrapped one of those
towel
silver. There's like you know, there's like to keep them like, you know, when you go to
like a thermal blanket or whatever.
Yeah, like there's
maybe Kenta tried to set her on fire with that rock, so she's got that thermal blanket on.
This protects me from the and again, this is just, you know, a little bit of backstory. This is actually a bit of backstory here. This is an interesting scene that leads into something that it's been hinted at and has been mentioned in plots before, but we finally get visual now of Snake Eye's father being killed and him as a little child kind of getting away, escaping, basically.
Yes.
But prior to that, we actually see Haruka Abe, Akiko, like with the Arashikage surrounding Snake Eyes. And this is obviously after the fact that he's been trained, because he's got his gear on. So this is an element where maybe there's a rift between him and the Arashikage at some point.
Yeah, it certainly, he says something like, "This isn't my fight," or whatever, and he's facing off kind of more against Akiko rather than kind of alongside. So yeah, it does seem to be some sort of conflict, inner conflict between the group there.
Now she's got a pole weapon here, and that could be a clue to who's in the street in Tokyo. That it could be Akiko in that alleyway. We will find out, of course. But yeah, this is really cool scene. We see the house on fire. We see Snake Eye's father, he's obviously been killed, and we see Snake Eyes as a little lad in the forest. And then we see him, like, again at the Arashikage with his bag, putting his motorcycle helmet on, not his Snake Eyes helmet, but a generic motorcycle helmet, riding off. There's a lot of motorcycle stuff in this, and there's actually quite a lot of scenes where you have Haruka Abe and Snake Eyes interacting. So I think there's going to be like an interesting relationship there.
Sure.
And he also explains how he got the nickname.
Yeah, he talks about, you know, the fact that bad luck has followed him everywhere, so he calls himself Snake Eyes. What's interesting, I think, in this particular scene, or in the scene immediately following, is he's standing kind of at a fence overlooking a pond, kind of talking to Storm Shadow. And Storm Shadow says something very interesting. He says, I can't give you a name or a past, but I can give you a purpose, which makes me think that I don't think they're going to give us his name. They're not going to reveal his name, which has been some, you know, point of consternation among G.I. Joe fans. Like, are they going to tell us who he is? I mean, that takes away the air of mystery. But it sounds like throughout this movie, he's just going to be known as Snake Eyes. It's what he calls himself, and maybe it's, you know, who knows? Does he not remember his name? I mean, the kid looked old enough, kind of in that flashback scene, that he would have remembered his name, but perhaps he has kind of foregone his past identity. So I think it's interesting that Storm Shadow mentions, you know, I can't give you a name, meaning, you know, he doesn't have one currently. So I think that's a neat twist if they do that, if they go through the entire movie without actually naming him as a character beyond just Snake Eyes.
His name is Belinda. I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping it. I hope the same thing. Actually, I hope there's like a real thing where it's like, you know, you don't have one, or maybe Kenta tells him at the end because Kenta was the one that, like, you know, knew it all along, and I don't know. That'd be quite cool. But yeah, then he gets Morning Light. Opens up. We've seen those scenes before, but they drag that one out a little bit longer, so the camera goes a little bit closer to him. Again, like I'm dragging everything out of this friggin' trailer, aren't I? Then we get that awesome scene that we have seen already in the full trailer: the flip on the bike, the cut the other bike in half, dude falls off. But we get an extra element of that. We get a close up of the guy coming off the motorcycle,
through the air,
and then we see again more footage of that forest. The jungle kind of like, you know, training or just fighting probably, because he's wearing his Snake Eyes gear. I suppose we get Kenta again. We get that scene that we've already seen blowing up the temple, and then we get Kenta and the Baroness, and they're all coming together at this point. So Snake Eyes is involved in this as well, and we get the Baroness looking slightly different, don't we, Justin?
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't have her glasses on. She's not wearing her trademark Cobra uniform, kind of just more of a generic kind of black outfit.
Slightly longer hair.
Slightly longer hair, yeah, exactly. There's been lots of people kind of complaining about her short haircut for whatever stupid reason, but
leave now.
But yeah, she's got a little bit longer hair, and so a little bit of a different look to her. But yeah, so and you know, kind of threatens Snake Eyes a little bit. And
obviously, the glasses are for when it's game time. As you can see, like when it's
same here. I don't wear my glasses except when I'm recording. Then I put them on because it's game time.
It's game time. It's got to get serious. Got to get pro. We get a few more shots of her in that battle in the Arashikage kind of zone, and then we get this is amazing. Okay, so more motorcycle stuff. But now we're getting what looks like Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow and Akiko. And he's doing this flip as they go past. They're swiping at him, and they miss him, and he lands again on his bike.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a cool little scene to see, isn't it? Like in full.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And like you said, it's him against the Arashikage, which is a really interesting. It's going to be cool to kind of see how this conflict kind of emerges throughout the film. I mean, we know some details about it from the leaked script details and stuff like that, but it's still going to be something completely different actually seeing it happen on screen and seeing exactly what transpires that brings that conflict about. Especially because so many of the scenes we see between Snake Eyes and Kenta, there's obviously some antagonism there too, and we know Storm Shadow and Kenta don't get along, so how is that, you know, who's going to kind of join up with who? Is somebody, you know, or is it going to be a three-way kind of...
Whoa! Justin, this is a family show. There can't be a three-way in it. It's a four-way or nothing. Then we get the Blind Masters moment. This is awesome. So I had to slow this down to see actually who did it, but you see from the first shot, you see Storm Shadow, you see Blind Master and Hard Master standing there, and Blind Master turns round and throws this like dart. Throws this kind of like ninja dart, and it's like literally going straight down the middle, and all these guys are jumping out of the way in this like slow-mo scene, and they're all like, you know, whoa, flipping, jumping out of the way, and then it hits the one at the back, literally the one at the back. It just takes him out, and then it's just like, whoa, you know. That was really cool. And I think as well they intersperse the bit of the scene where Snake Eyes and Kenta are looking at each other, real close up, and Snake Eyes, you didn't see that coming or something like that. And it's like I like that. It's got nothing to do with that scene, but it's just a nice like a juxtaposition of those two things happening.
Yeah, especially if it is the Blind Master that throws that dart and says you didn't see that coming.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
wonder what the Hard Master throws at them. Anyway. That joke's never.
You can still say you didn't see that coming. Oh, yeah, no.
You can. You just have to change the spellings, right? And then we do see some Hard Master stuff, and we see him kicking off against a lot of foes. We see Haruka Abe's move, and we get another. I think we get another scene, another quick scene added to this, where we see a real close up of her, like taking out the two dudes with her swords. But we, that's kind of it for that. They don't milk that scene again. I mean, that's been in every single trailer.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. We see Storm Shadow and Kenta on the roof again. It's like quick, choppy scenes, isn't it, at this point? But there's so many of them.
Yeah, and again, that sword fight is something we've seen in pretty much every trailer so far.
Oh, this is nice. So all of a sudden, as well, there's this one shot where you get the entire lineup. Yep. Granny Arashikage's in there as well. Yep. She's in the middle. You've got, to her left, or our right as we look at it, you've got Haruka Abe, hard and blind.
Yeah.
and to the right and to the left as we look at it, you've got Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow. It's almost like if they'd have released Hard Master, Blind Master, and Granny, then we'd have had, that's the classified lineup.
No kidding. That'd have been pretty cool. Yeah.
I should mention as well that I won this thing on Twitter where I tweeted I hearted something first that the Snake Eyes thing, that the Snake Eyes movie page posted, because I was on it all morning, just going crazy, and they sent me this really cool new art piece by Dragon Art 76, and they said they expect classified drops all day, which we'll get to a little bit later on, but really interesting, and I wanted to make sure I just mentioned it at that point, because otherwise I'll probably forget when we get to the end.
Right.
Anyway, we'll have to see what that's about. Then finally we see him drop his it's like a massive Snake Eyes gym bag with the helmet attached to it. It's like, this is, you get the gear, but you get a special Snake Eyes branded gym bag. And then we see the boots, we see the camera pan up, we see the whole suit, we see him do his Peter Quill from Guardians of the Galaxy and close the visor and everything.
Yeah.
And scene. And that's it. Wow, hey? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that was cool. You got they didn't have that full body kind of pan up in the regular trailer. I mean, you saw obviously the visor thing, but it was interesting because that uniform looks sort of similar to the Retaliation uniform. I mean, he's got that same sort of padding up the rib cage that is pretty familiar. He looks a little sleeker. I think the Retaliation version looked very kind of bulky and thick, like he was wearing hockey pads or something, and this one looks a little bit slimmer.
I think Golding in general's quite thinner frame, isn't he, than the stockier Ray Park.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Not saying Ray Park's in cracking condition. Don't get me wrong. I just mean two different body types is what I'm saying. Yeah, of course he would hand us our on a plate and make us eat them. Which is gross, isn't it?
That's kind of nasty.
Why did I say that? That's hideous. Why do I say everything? Right, okay. Well, that is the international trailer. Absolutely bonkers. We've also let's cut here. Let's have Snake Eyes chop us in half. Swing. And now we'll move on.
Doesn't sound like chopping in half. It sounds like something else.
It sounds like something the Hard Master would do.
Sounds like me after seeing the international trailer.
It sounds like all of us after seeing the international trailer. We had a featurette. We had a new featurette, Justin. And we'll have to go through this one as well because we have to. Again, we get Snake, we get Henry Golding, we get, all the characters kind of, chatting away and everything. But we get Larry, a big mention of Larry Hama again, who's greedy and had numerous featurettes done about him now. I'm kidding. He deserves it, obviously. But we're seeing some great, more footage of the fight with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow in the warehouse. Larry on the set talking to Robert Schwenke, which is really, really cool. Obviously, it's the usual kind of stuff with the featurettes and the behind the scenes. It's all of them praising Larry, isn't it? Basically, which is absolutely fine.
And I'm really happy to see it because Larry Hama has been, a real hardworking, proponent of G.I. Joe. He's stuck with it through thick and thin. He's been literally kind of, speaking that language for 40 years now. Yeah. So I mean, he is kind of the guy who birthed the Snake Eyes world. So
how amazing would it be if Kenta, on his dying breath, says to Snake Eyes, "Your name's Larry."
But they really seem to be treating him kind of like a Stan Lee figure, sort of, of the G.I. Joe world, which is, pretty appropriate. And I think, it's really awesome to see him kind of getting his due and getting some real perspective on sort of what it meant to bring those characters to life. And he clearly they're putting a lot of stock in his words and in his kind of gravitas, which is really awesome.
Absolutely, and again, thoroughly deserved. I totally agree with you. We get in with this featurette. We get lots of little clips, very quick, like bang 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 kind of clips that, again, from scenes we've already kind of seen and everything. Right. But there's one which I think is where the movie poster that Golding actually shared comes from, and they're in this truck or car, and all these blades are like sticking in to the, you know, like they're, you know, you can see they're in like some sort of trouble here. And it's him and Storm Shadow, and they're both just, it's like they're in one of those like magic boxes, and all the swords are just like shing, shing, shing. Yeah. Which is great. We get, again, more expanded scenes, you know, the Arashikage temple, like almost like you see that kind of Arashikage is almost like a family at one point, where they're all kind of sitting down and, just being a family.
Yeah, and there is, I think the scene with Snake Eyes kind of doing his visor and getting on the motorcycle, I think is a tiny bit extended. Like you get a side shot that I don't think you got.
Getting on the bike, isn't it? Yeah,
on the bike, yeah. And yeah, like you said, the Arashikage kind of family dinner is a kind of an interesting scene as well. There's a lot of different like sort of nuance to the featurette. It's like you can't really paint a full picture of the trailer unless you watch 2 featurettes and 3 different trailers and
those motion like posters
and the motion posters. Yeah.
Well, not motion, but what the little character videos is what they were, weren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of the transition from comic to movie, and they showed like little small video clips. Yeah.
But again, like, geez, man, it's been a morning. We thought like the trailer was going to be revealed. No, absolutely. But to get an international trailer that is thick with new shiz. Like, it's just a completely different trailer, is it not?
It is, yeah. There is very little kind of similar scenes. Even they don't even use the new level music. They use some totally different music.
Do you know what? That's a really good point. And that's why I haven't sung "I'm on a new level" this entire episode. Mate, okay, I think we're good for the day, right? We should be.
I think we thought we were all well prepared. We got a bunch of that stuff recorded for the trailer release. We were all good to go, and then all of a sudden they just blew it out of the water.
Threw this one out there.
Only in a good way.
So I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Everyone feel for me. Everyone be sympathetic, and no one say any nasty words. I'm just kidding. But I also will say that we'll try and keep you up to date on whatever the classified drops are, because that is really intriguing, and I'm a little bit scared in a good way, mainly because I know I'm going to have to do a news burst later. But keep it locked with the full force. Justin, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate you jumping on again to do this. My again. And we'll see you guys later, but I do have to sign off properly, because that is the worst sign off I've ever done.
I will see you guys later.
See you guys. Bye. That's it for this Movie Burst special again. Another friggin' special. Thank you to my awesome co-host, Justin Bell. See you next time, and as always, Justin, after 65, 3, 1, 2, 3, full force! Until, obviously, we get another trailer pop up today.
Yeah, another 20 minutes or whatever.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.